Hey everyone, and welcome back to Haste Kitchen. This is one of my absolute favourite dishes so far. This is my red wine soy infused reduction with a beautiful fillet steak, chestnut stuffing, and all wrapped up in the most beautiful flaky puff pastry. Obviously for the heart of the dish, we're going to be using some beef Wellington. Now I've gone to the butcher's and I've gone towards the tail end of the fillet and asked him to trim it up for me completely. Onto a chopping board, you're going to heavily season pepper with salt and some olive oil, and then we're going to grab our fillet steak and we're just going to roll that backwards and forwards throughout, making sure you've got a little kiss, a little bit of salt and pepper all over it. You're going to get a pan up to heat and just going to lay that beef in and sear it around all the sides. You're going to add yourself rosemary and around 20 grams of butter. So for this recipe, I've teamed up with Lee Kim Kee. They're the absolute masters of the soy sauce world. For this, we're going to use a little bit of something called double deluxe soy sauce. That's going to give it real loads of body and flavour to the beef itself. The double deluxe soy sauce is a real rich glaze, so that's going to really enhance the flavour of the beef with that butter and the rosemary as well. Now, for an extra bit of flame on this, we're going to use a small shot of brandy. Now that can come off and that can just sit there just to rest. So the fillet's to one side. Now that pan itself is absolutely ram-packed with all the flavours you want. So again, we're going to go in there with another 25 grams of butter. We've got a teaspoon of freshly grated garlic, and then we've got some rosemary again. So just drag your hand down the back of the sprig, roughly chop, and that can go into your pan as well. Now we've gone for about 8 or 9 well shredded mushrooms. Give that a little swirl round. Now look how dark and glazed those mushrooms have gone. That's from the double deluxe soy sauce. We're going to go in there with another splash of that, just over the top, just to give that some extra body. There's so much more than the dark and the light soy sauce, which everyone just thinks about. You've got the red braising sauce. Red braising sauce, add that to a classic pork dish, put it in a casserole, and it will punch it full of flavour. You know, you've got sweet and sour here, use it for that things like gyozas. And then finally, you've got the double deluxe, which is my firm favourite. It works so well with this Wellington. It punches it full of loads and loads of flavour. Right, off with the heat. They can go straight onto your chopping board. You can see how beautiful caramelised and golden they've gone. Just to chop them up. And then you want to add a good sprinkle of your breadcrumb mix. Now I've just gone through some old breadcrumbs, whipped it up through a food blender, chopped that up really roughly, and that's going to become your mushroom stuffing. So I've got myself some pre-done puff pastry. So on top of that, we're going to layer in some of our mushroom mix. So a little push into the corners, and you're just going to make that so you've got yourself a perfect sort of square amount. You're going to get beef fillet, you're just going to lay that just at the start, and you're going to get your pastry, and you're just going to roll that, the stuffing is all the way through. Now just on the inside, we're going to do a little bit of egg wash, both sides, and that's just going to just help it stick back together and make sure that all those juices are sealed within the actual pastry itself. And then push that down, trim off any excess pastry. Now, I want to make this look slightly different, so we're going to actually bring some lattice work on here. Put that to one side. We're going to grab ourselves another piece of our puff pastry. I'm working with this really quickly because this is nice and cold at the moment, and as soon as it warms up, it will start to stick really badly. So, roll that back out. We've got a lattice cutter, so one of these little bad boys, and he's going to run that all the way down, and we're just going to use a quarter of this. You're going to get your lattice like so, and you're just going to lay that just over the top, and then just pull that slightly just to open up each one of those lattices, and just going to trim off the edges just again. You're going to grab yourself a pre-lined baking tin, just transfer that over, and we're going to wash that with a load of egg again all over. It's going to go into our oven at 180 Celsius for around 35 to 40 minutes while we get on with our red wine reduction. So our pan's got loads of flavours still left in there. So whack a bit of heat on there, a little bit of oil, and then we've gone in there with around 3 to 4 shallots. 25 grams of butter, add them to the onions. We've got 1 clove of crushed garlic. Give that a good stir around, getting lots of caramelisation onto those onions. And once they brown just slightly, we're going to add a good 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. So into the onions, we're going to be adding some of the red braising sauce. Now this itself has got a real rich soy sort of white wine taste to it. A good glug. Now you can see how thick and glazed that's gone. we're going to add some of our red wine. So I'm using a Malbec on this. I'm going to add about 2 glasses. You're going to let that reduce by around another 30%, and then we're going to add a small knob of butter just to give it that lovely bit of sheen through the sauce itself. So you can see there that's reduced down by probably about a half, and it's really started to thicken up. We're going to take our Wellington out of the oven and just let that rest for a couple of minutes while we steam off some spinach. That is perfect, and the smell in here is insanely good. Right, let's serve this one up. Now with Wellington itself, it's entirely up to you how rare you want to go. I actually like mine quite rare. So let's see what it's like inside. And that's what you're looking for. Just lightly blushing on the inside. Absolutely perfect. And you can smell all those beautiful sort of flavours and aromas coming out of there. So to serve this one up, I've just wilted off a very small amount of spinach. We're going to take a good slice of our Wellington. And then finally our beautiful red wine reduction, just drizzled around the top. And I'm so proud of this recipe. I really am. There's loads of different variations of this out there, but this really, really works. Beef Wellington with mushroom stuffing and the most gorgeous red wine reduction. So simple to make. If you want to know more about the Lee Kim Kee range, please click in the description box down below, which takes you straight through to their website. These guys have been around for a long time. They do some absolutely phenomenal products, and I can stand behind them 100%. If you recreate this one, hashtag me as Haste Kitchen as always, and I'll see you next week. Cheers then, bye bye.